I've always liked the quiet. Working as a janitor at night has its perks. No one around to tell you what to do. No annoying conversations, no distractions. Just you, the hum of fluorescent lights, and the familiar rhythm of cleaning one empty room after another. Most people don't understand that sort of peace. It's different when you're alone in an office building. It's not the kind of loneliness you might feel at home. It's a kind that settles into your bones and makes everything seem heavier. That night, though, the loneliness felt different. At first, I thought it was just in my head. It had been a long week and I was tired, moving from floor to floor, checking my watch, waiting for my shift to end. But things started happening that didn't feel right. It started small, barely noticeable, really. I was cleaning the third-floor conference room when I noticed a stack of papers scattered across the table. I was sure they had been neatly piled up earlier. People can be careless, though, especially those who work late. So, I brushed it off, stacked the papers again, and moved on. About half an hour later, I was on the fourth floor when the lights flickered in the hallway. Again, I didn't think much of it. Old buildings do that, especially at night. The power grid isn't as reliable, and lights flickering is nothing new. But when I walked back to the third floor to double-check my work, the lights in the conference room were back on, and the papers, those damn papers, were all over the place again. I stood there for a second, staring at the mess. My first thought was that maybe someone had come in after me, but I hadn't heard anyone. I checked the building's security system. No one else had logged in tonight. It was just me, alone. Still, I convinced myself that I had made a mistake. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I hadn't stacked the papers as neatly as I thought. I wasn't exactly thrilled about having to clean up after someone who couldn't bother to turn the lights off, but I wasn't about to make a big deal out of it. But as the night wore on, the unease grew. I kept hearing things, soft noises, like footsteps just out of earshot. Every time I turned a corner, I half expected to see someone there. Of course, no one ever was, just me, alone with my mop and bucket. But the feeling didn't go away. If anything, it got worse. That gut-wrenching sensation you get when you think someone's watching you, just out of sight. I was on the 5th floor when it really hit me. I was wiping down a desk in one of the cubicles when I heard a faint ring, like a phone ringing from far away. I stopped and listened, but the sound faded. I told myself it was probably just someone's cell phone left behind in a drawer. I didn't think much of it until it happened again. This time, it was louder, clearer. It was coming from an empty office down the hall. I walked over, trying to find the source of the noise, but the second I reached the door, it stopped. Silence. Nothing but the hum of the air conditioning unit above. I opened the door to the office, and everything looked normal. The desk was empty, save for a few office supplies. There wasn't a phone in sight. That was when I started to feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I backed out of the room, closing the door behind me, trying to shake the feeling that something was wrong. That's when I heard it again, this time, footsteps. Not far off, but close, somewhere behind me. I turned around, but there was nothing, just the same empty hallway. My heart was pounding, but I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was the security guard doing a round I didn't know about. Or maybe I was just hearing things, my own footsteps echoing. But deep down, I knew I wasn't alone. I went back to my cart and pushed it to the next floor. Maybe if I stayed busy, I wouldn't notice the weirdness. But that wasn't enough anymore. As I worked my way up, things only got stranger. Lights flickering. Doors that I knew I had closed were now open. And the feeling of being watched? It was constant now, gnawing at me, no matter how much I tried to rationalize it. Then I saw it. I was finishing up on the 6th floor, cleaning the glass doors of the conference room, when I caught a glimpse of something in the reflection. A shadow moved behind me, quick, almost like it was ducking out of sight. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. My stomach dropped. Someone was here. I called out, "Hey, who's there?" My voice echoed through the hall, but there was no answer. Just silence. My hand was shaking as I grabbed my phone. I opened the security app again. Still, no one else logged in. No doors had been opened. No alarms had been triggered. But I knew I wasn't imagining things. I started walking, faster now, moving toward the elevators. I didn't care if I had left a few rooms undone. I was getting out. My legs felt heavy, like they were moving through mud, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was right behind me, matching my steps, waiting for me to slip up. That's when I heard it. Footsteps, louder this time, coming from the stairwell. Whoever it was, they were close. Too close. I sprinted to the elevator, jamming the button with my thumb. It was taking too long. I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see someone, anyone, but the hallway remained eerily empty. Finally, the elevator doors slid open. I rushed inside, pressing the button for the ground floor. As the doors started to close, I saw him. A man. He was standing at the end of the hallway, half hidden in the shadows. I couldn't make out his face, but I could feel his eyes on me, cold and calculating, like he'd been watching me the entire time. And now, he wasn't hiding anymore. He stood there, still as a statue, watching as the elevator doors closed. My heart pounded in my chest as the elevator descended, each floor taking an eternity. When the doors finally opened at the lobby, I ran. I didn't care about anything else. I just needed to get to my car, get out of there, and figure out what the hell just happened. My feet slapped against the pavement as I crossed the parking lot, the cool night air doing nothing to calm my nerves. As I fumbled for my keys, I glanced back at the building. There, just behind the glass doors, the man was standing, watching, unmoving. I could see him clearly now, tall, wearing dark clothes, his face still obscured by the shadows. He didn't chase me. He didn't need to. He'd already gotten what he wanted. I drove away as fast as I could, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I didn't stop until I was far from the building, safe in the glow of streetlights and other cars. Even now, I can't shake the feeling that it wasn't just a random intruder. Whoever that man was, he knew the building. He knew my routine. He had been waiting, watching for who knows how long. And I can't stop wondering, what would have happened if I hadn't noticed in time? What if I had let my guard down just for a second? Would I have been able to get away? Or would I have ended up like one of those papers scattered across the desk? Just another mess for someone else to clean up. I don't think I'll ever know. And that's what scares me the most.